entertainment AI tech news with Ginger Lou. We have BAFTA adds AI disclosure rules to award submissions. Aronofsky seeks new funding for Primordial Soup. Gossip Goblin's AI film set for theatrical release. Anthropic settles landmark author piracy case for $1.5 billion. And other news. And we start off with Gossip Goblin. Gods Don't Give Gifts is headed to US theatres on October the 30th. Ash Kusha's Dreams of Violet was the first fully AI-generated film to screen at Tribeca earlier this year, and Kusha has now released Odyssey the Fall to coincide with the Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, which I still haven't seen, by the way. You can't make me. I'd probably go and see it on my TV screen soon. As Darren Aronofsky AI studio push and backlash around Neill Blomkamp's A Nightborn show how heated the debate has become. This week's Entertainment AI Tech News Roundup covers the industry's push to draw clear lines around AI use, from BAFTA's new disclosure rules for award submissions and Anthropic's $1.5 billion settlement with authors over pirated trained data, to Netflix's admission that generative AI appeared in roughly 300 titles, and its $587 million acquisition of Ben Affleck's post-production startup, while also tracking AI native content moving towards mainstream distribution with Gossip Goblin's theatrical release. Darren Aronofsky fresh funding push for Primordial Soup, and the mixed reaction of high-profile AI experiments from Neill Blomkamp and others. So we start off with BAFTA adds AI disclosure rule to awards submissions. BAFTA has updated its awards rules to allow judges to request more information about how generative AI or other digital tools were used in a film, television show or game, raising scrutiny around the role of human creative input. The change, announced this week as part of a broader submission rule update, is framed as a response to the rapid spread of AI across production and post-production workflows, and BAFTA said the rule is designed to reaffirm that it awards recognise, and I quote, outstanding human creative achievement, regardless of the tools used. The new clause does not ban AI-assisted work, but it gives the British Academy the right to ask how much of a project was created by people rather than software. Okay, all right, but then couldn't you argue, I'm a photographer, I'm MFA, Master of Fine Art photographer, couldn't you argue by using Adobe Photoshop to edit your photos, even though, of course, you're doing everything, yeah, okay. I mean, the arguments will keep going. The argument will keep going. Anyway, the new clause does not ban AI-assisted work, but it gives the British Academy the right to ask how much of a project was created by people rather than software. The distinction matters at a time when awards season debates over AI have intensified, especially after recent controversy around projects such as The Brutalist, which used AI voice editing in Hungarian dialogue. BAFTA's move also aligns it with a broader industry effort to draw a line between technical assistance and authorship, even as the technology becomes more embedded in mainstream filmmaking. See, this is how I feel. So this is a year old about The Brutalist, right? About how AI was used to, make them sound not like American actors, putting on Hungarian accents, but, more really Hungarian. You've got TV especially, but a lot of big Hollywood films too are using, how should I put it? Editing features on people's faces, to make them look younger. So certain big actors that I'm not going to name in television and in film who are over a certain age, they are digitally edited, so the lines are removed. Sometimes it's so bad on some television shows, which I will not name, that, they look like robots, smooth-faced robots. They've deleted, digitally enhanced, they've removed every single line on that person's face, usually women too, so simply because they're over 50. I mean, they look ridiculous, right? It looks awful. They just look like robots. But, that's okay. No one says anything about that. That's fine. We can do that. That's not altering anything. But, if you use AI to, enhance the voice to make it sound more Hungarian. Oh, no, you can't do that. So, it's one of these and all the rest of it. Anyway, Aronofsky seeks fresh funding for Primordial Soup. Why do I always think of the Puff the Magic Dragon when I'm thinking of Primordial Soup? Remember there was a children's programme. I grew up in England, but I was born in Los Angeles, but I grew up in England. And there was this children's programme with dragons, and there was soup dragons. I think that's it. They were called the Soup Dragons. British listeners will know what I'm talking about over a certain age. British listeners, it's the Soup Dragon. That's what I think. Anyway. Darren Aronofsky, AI-focused studio Primordial Soup is seeking to raise $15 million in new equity, according to a Secretaries and Exchange Commission filing as his filmmaker moves to expand a venture that has already begun testing generative AI across short-form projects and experimental production workflows. The film lists Aronofsky and his producing partner, Dylan Golden, as chief executives and says the company has already sold a little more than $11 million in equity this month. The fundraising push comes after Primordial Soup launched last year with support from Google DeepMind and began developing projects designed to blend traditional filmmaking with AI tools, including the animated series On This Day in 1776. I think you're probably talking about America, aren't you? Okay, or a pub in England when it opened. Who knows? But no, he got a lot of backlash, didn't he, with his first film, didn't he? But, things change. Anyway, Blomkamp's AI short meets backlash. Neill Blomkamp's 13-minute short film Nightborn is drawing a largely negative reaction after the District 9 filmmaker released it as an AI-generated sci-fi experiment built with ByteDance Seed 2.0 video model. The project, loosely tied to Peter Watt's Echopraxia, was made with concept art from human artists and the faces and voices of 32 real people who signed likeness agreements, but the final film was generated almost entirely by software. God, I love District 9. Wasn't that just such an amazing fook film? It was great, wasn't it? Anyway, the backlash lands at a moment when high-profile directors are testing generative AI tools as a production tool, even as audience continue to turn out for conventionally made work. Blomkamp has framed Nightborn as a test run for a possible feature-length AI project and set up Barley Studios around that ambition. But the response suggests that format still faces skepticism over craft, authenticity, and whether AI-assisted filmmaking can deliver the texture and emotional weight that viewers expect from cinema. Like I said before, it shouldn't be compared to proper, real, or traditional cinema. It's something different, absolutely different. Like I said before, you wouldn't compare a amazing manga cartoon with, a live-action documentary, would you? It's completely different, Anyway, Gossip Goblin's every time I say Gossip Goblin, I said it all right then. I lose my tongue. But anyway, his film, AI film set for theatrical release. So this is big. This is huge. Or it might fall flat. We don't know. Zach London's fully AI-generated feature, Gods Don't Give Gifts, is set to open in several hundred theatres on October the 30th, marking another step in the slow migration of AI-made projects from YouTube fandom into conventional distribution. London, who creates under the moniker Gossip Goblin, I said it, built a large online audience first. The channel has 1.4 million subscribers and more than 1 billion views across its shorts. So that was it, folks. People come to me and they say, we want to have, we want our films to do this, that and the other. Yeah, but you've got to have a base. You've got to have, you've got your 1 billion views. You've got your 1 million subscribers, so you've got to have your base. Anyway, the sci-fi anthology follows people using strange technologies to push against death, memory and bodily limits, with producer Edward Saatchi saying the stories sit in a dystopian zone without ending in apocalypse. The release also places London alongside a small but growing group of creators trying to use online momentum to turn AI native work into theatrical business, even as the industry keeps debating whether these projects represent a new production model or a novelty with marketing power. Of course, we're all just trying to get everyone back into the cinema, and maybe this will try. They don't know. They don't know if it's going to work. What's the old? What was that old? Cliche that's used in Hollywood. No one knows what they're doing. No one knows if something will be a success. No one knows. But if something is, and everybody copies it, it's like all these, Hollywood. All these independent horror movies that have, that cost £5 to make, and they've just made millions, and now everybody's now Hollywood's hiring loads and loads of young people to make horror movies, and they'll all fail because it just what happens. But we're not going to the cinema, so you're trying to get people to go to the cinema. You want young people to go to the cinema especially because they're the ones who spend a lot of money, and there's loads of them that want to go to the cinema, but they don't want to because they want to they want to look at their phones and stuff, and so. It's not that it's a bad idea. It's not that it's a bad film. It's just that, it's what people want to do, But anyway, we'll see what happens in October, won't we? Midjourney demands Hollywood studios disclose AI use in copyright fight. Midjourney is asking federal judge to force Disney, Universal and Warner Brothers Discovery to reveal how they use artificial intelligence internally, escalating a copyright fight that began when the studios sued the image generation 2025. The company, which has denied infringement, argues that the studio's own AI practice are irrelevant to its fair use and unclean hands defences. Unclean hands? Because the plaintiffs may be doing internally what they accuse Midjourney of doing publicly. The request seeks records of AI business plans, training data, model weights and board-level presentations, but a magistrate judge already limited discovery in June to consumer-facing AI tools rather than internal systems. Midjourney has now asked Judge John Kronstadt to reverse that ruling, while the studios are resisting broader disclosure and maintaining that the lawsuit is about unauthorized use of their copyright characters, not the private workflows. Anthropic settles landmark author piracy case for $1.5 billion. Anthropic has won final approval for $1.5 billion settlement with authors and publishers who said the company trained its AI models on pirated books in the largest copyright recovery in U.S. history. U.S. District Judge Martinez Olgun approved the deal in Oakland, where the class action suit accused the Amazon-backed AI company of downloading hundreds of thousands of copyrighted works without permission and using them to train Claude. The settlement pays out roughly $3,000 per eligible work to more than 500,000 authors and publishers, while 350 authors opted out and may pursue separate claims. The ruling matters well beyond Anthropic because it draws a sharp line between AI training and the way training data is obtained. Judge William Alsup has already signalled that using books to train an AI system could qualify as fair use, but acquiring them through piracy could still trigger liability. Netflix pays $587 million for Ben Affleck's AI startup. Netflix paid that amount to acquire Ben Affleck's AI film tech startup in a positive, according to a securities filing that puts a hard number on one of Hollywood's most expensive bets on generative tools. The deal, first announced in March, gives the streamer exclusive access to InnerPositive's filmmaker-focused software, which is designed to speed post-production and complex shot work while keeping creative decisions in human hands. The acquisition lands as Netflix expands AI across roughly 300 productions and continues to argue that the technology is meant to support, not replace, filmmakers. That pitch now sits alongside a much bigger strategic question: whether Netflix is buying a practical production tool, a competitive edge in a tightening content market, or both, as unions and creative workers press for stronger protections around the use of AI on sets and in post. AI actor Tilly Norwood lands first film role. Controversial AI actor Tilly Norwood will star in her first feature film, Misaligned, a comedy drama from London-based Particle 6 that centres on an artificial intelligence being with no body or lived experience of her own. the project announced this week puts the digital character back into the spotlight after she triggered. You see, you're calling her a she, but she's not really a she because she doesn't exist as she. But anyway, as Tilly Norwood triggered backlash in Hollywood last year over fears that AI performers could be trained on human likenesses and eventually displace real actors. Particle 6 says the film is being built as a hybrid production with films and TV professionals working alongside AI specialists, and that it aims to show what AI can do while helping crews adapt to the technology. The company is pitching Misaligned as a self-aware story about identity, performance, and the uneasy line between human and synthetic creativity. But the premise is likely to sharpen an already raw industry argument over consent, compensation, and who gets to call themselves a performer. I thank you.